I know that you might have introduced yourself in the last session, but I thought it might be nice if in the chat box, you could please let me know who you are, where in the world you're dialing from, and what you do. So that would be great to get to know everyone who's joining for the sessions. Before we begin and really start diving into what we would like to share as the Africa Regional Network, I thought to quickly share just a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing and what the rest of the day will look like. And so we'll go to the session here so that you can get a sense of what the day would look like. We will start our session at 3 o'clock GMT, which we've just started now, where we will be crossing over to a session by IFC Edge that specifically looks at how green buildings can be a part of your decarbonization strategy. A lot of people kind of see decarbonization as either transport or some of the other sectors, but buildings are a huge part of a decarbonization strategy for any company. And we're doing quite a bit of collaborative work with IFC Edge, so we thought to share that. Then we go at 4 o'clock, we will go to East Africa, where we've got green building councils from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Rwanda, as well as from Ethiopia, who will share a bit about their net zero journeys and some of the solutions that they have. We will then cross over to Southern Africa. We will go to Zimbabwe and Mauritius, and as well as Namibia, who will speak about their net zero solutions in Southern Africa. And then we will cross over to West and Central Africa. So we're really going across Sub-Saharan Africa. We'll be going to Nigeria and Ghana, where we have, as well as Cameroon, so where we have the green building councils there talking about net zero solutions that are specific to their region. So at this point, I will cross over to just a panel session that IFC Edge had done around how green buildings can be a part of your decarbonization strategy. And I will see you with the rest of our East Africa GBCs at 4 o'clock GMT +1.
Design one. And this is exactly what the EDGE certification system will assist you with. EDGE is part of the Green Building Transformation Program launched by IFC, which is a part of the World Bank Group, as mentioned before. Next. So EDGE is unique in that it was designed by a financial institution for financial institutions. And this will help green entire investment pipelines and portfolios with its streamlined, efficiency-focused certification. It also includes a free software that we will talk about in a little bit. EDGE is also a globalized, recognized standard that can be used for green bonds and compliance with certification. It's a very straightforward system. It's offered at a low cost, and it allows you to provide hassle-free impact reporting to your investors. To date, we have certified over 38 million square meters of space around the world. EDGE also benchmarks your entire building portfolio performance, which takes into account everything from the local climate, the customs, and typical business as usual buildings, and gives you that comparison that you need to understand how much more efficient is the green design that I have developed than a typical design of its type in my region. And this is automatically loaded into the program for you. It also is going to help industry leaders navigate that path to zero carbon. So how do we meet our goals for 2030 and 2050? With EDGE, this will set you up on a path to step towards that zero carbon certification over time. Next slide. So once a project is entered into the software, a designer can easily see what it will take to get EDGE certified or go for higher levels of ambition. You can see here, EDGE certified is 20% energy savings. And an EDGE advanced asset rating indicates a step up from 20% to 40% energy efficiency. This then qualifies the building to apply for EDGE zero carbon rating once that building has been in use for 1 year. Now let me cover the building types that EDGE can actually certify. The EDGE certification system covers almost all building types and all over the world. So wherever your building is located or whatever usage type that you may have, it can be analyzed within the software. Next slide, thank you. The EDGE software is a cloud-based application that can be accessed directly from the edgebuildings.com website. Now, it's very important to note that using the software is free of charge. So I encourage anyone who is interested to test the software and sign up. And the EDGE software is the heart of the system and has been a real game changer to attract companies that have never thought to certify their projects before. First, the interface is extremely easy to use, even by a non-building professional. And you can figure out rough financial costs and benefits of certification in just minutes. The next benefit is that architects can work with the software even before they have a final design, and they can choose a set of green design options. This is important because when green measures are incorporated early on, many can be delivered at low to no cost. Third, as green measures are selected, their cost and payback in lower utility bills is calculated instantaneously. So this is going to give natural preference to more passive measures like shading or things like insulation or orientation of the building. And this will benefit you regardless of the skill level of whoever is operating the building. Active measures like improved HVAC systems or equipment in the buildings offer your next measures that you can tend to look at. And only once these options are exhausted, the designers tend to look at the most expensive options, which can perhaps be things like solar or other sustainable interventions. And as mentioned before, the software is going to incorporate instantaneous energy modeling. So this happens as soon as you change your model with a cost and benefit database. So this is going to allow you to make decisions based on the cost of all your interventions and make the most efficient and sustainable design possible. Next slide. As mentioned, the software is very easy to use. Here on the left-hand side, you'll see a picture of the software interface. And by simply checking these boxes on the left-hand side or choosing an option from the drop-down menus, you can see the effects of your changes. Because the software immediately analyzes these changes, you will instantly see the effects on the three categories that we are analyzing, which are energy, water, and the cost of the project. You can determine the cost of these interventions, the payback periods for the intervention, and the savings on the energy in your monthly bills. Next slide. So as I mentioned, this is a tool, but it's also a certification system. So we have different phases that you go through. EDGE projects are going to receive both a preliminary EDGE certificate at the design stage and a final EDGE certificate at the post-construction stage. A building currently under construction, if it wishes, can skip the preliminary process and go straight to final certification. As soon as the certificate is issued, then a project study can be submitted for publishing on the EDGE website, with social media coverage provided across the web channels. The EDGE logo and brand guidelines are also provided for investors or sales promotion purposes. So green is good for the environment, but it's also good for business. As mentioned, the zero carbon certificate is the operational certificate, which is approached after the building has been in 1 year of operation and has operational data and significant occupancy. Then an analysis is done on that data, and we see if you have achieved zero carbon. All of this information is included on our certified pages, and you can get pricing information and a quote specific to your project. We will also show you how to register a project on there, and we can point you to a list of accredited EDGE experts on the website if you wish to hire one. Next slide. Now, this is a certification system, but how do you actually map a pathway to a zero carbon future for your buildings and your building portfolio? Well, EDGE can also help you in this area. First, as the first step, if you are in a company with a large existing building portfolio, your first step is to understand what your existing building assets are and start to assess them within the EDGE tool. Then you can start to retrofit those buildings to be more efficient. And we'll talk about retrofit a little bit more. Then you can move on to your new buildings as the second step and assure that all of these are EDGE compliant by 2022, as explained in this example, and aim for EDGE advanced certification, for example, by 2024. And then by 2030, in line with the recommendations by the World Green Building Council, you can aim to have a zero carbon portfolio. Now, with this EDGE report, you can report your progress against these goals, as well as develop reports for sustainability linked bonds, your ESG reporting, EU taxonomy compliance, and much more. So it's really an all-inclusive system that allows you to keep up with your reporting needs, no matter what you're using it for. Next slide. Now, buildings CO2 is really set to double in the upcoming years. Most of this is because of many developing countries. And there is going to be more air conditioning in buildings, which is going to add to the issue. We really have an opportunity here to shape resilient cities of the future by influencing the design and growth plans now. One of the key areas that we need to look at is the role of retrofit. So we need to be designing green buildings at the start of the process, but also considering how do we take that existing building stock that we have and bring it up to standard. Luckily, inside of the EDGE software, you can do both existing building simulation as well as new building simulation and see the improvement on either side against a typical building of its type in the region. And we've been used for retrofit on many different projects. Next slide. And what does compliance do besides get you a sustainable building? It also opens the door to many sustainability banking incentives. So you can see here some of the examples that are offered from around the world. For example, competitive or lower interest rates on loans, perhaps a refund on your insurance premium, things like lower interest rates, coverage of your global EDGE technical fees, and more. So opening the door to sustainability doesn't just open you to having a green building, but can often open the door to many other things. All right, thank you so much, Cecilia.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much for that presentation, Michelle. What I was mentioning during my introduction, it was that we're going to have 3 developers, one from Asia and one from Africa and one from Latin America. So it is really, truly a pleasure to welcome Gia Garcia. Gia Garcia, she's the managing director from NEO, and she is connecting from Manila. So a very, very special thanks to you, Gia, because I know that it's over past 10 p.m. in the Philippines. So NEO is not only an EDGE champion, but also a carbon pledger. So it is truly a pleasure to welcome you, Gia. Please take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Cecilia. No problem at all. As I've mentioned earlier, it's an honor to be part, even if it's late here already. A good day, everyone. To all the attendees, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask and write them on the chat box. Next slide, please. First, I'd like to introduce who NEO is. We are an owner, developer, and manager of top certified green buildings in the Philippines. With 7 buildings in the portfolio, a total of leasable space of 270,900 square meters. Our tenants, to name a few, are the likes of JP Morgan Chase, Deutsche Bank, Google, Oracle, and P&G. E-commerce companies like Lazada and Shopee, two of the top online shopping destinations in the Philippines. Next slide, please. You see, achieving our EDGE zero carbon status was built upon years of continuous conscious efforts to decarbonize our buildings. And one of the real challenge that we had is taking action that delivers major cuts in the greenhouse gases. So in 2013, we partnered with Aboitiz Power to supply 100% of our energy demand with a renewable energy source. Beyond gaining this partnership, we also implemented operational policies, programs to conserve on energy. Then in 2015, we invested to innovate and start replacing our conventional fluorescent lighting with more efficient LED lighting fixtures. These efforts generate savings from energy consumption, which was used to pay the investment. The move has ultimately contributed to our net zero goals. Next slide, please. Since we are a supporter of our third-party verification, not only to ensure an independent organization has reviewed our process and assessed them objectively by non-biased standards, but to validate that our sustainable efforts are on the right track and the goal to decarbonize our built environment is correct. With this in mind, in 2011, we volunteered our sixth building during its design and construction stages to be a pilot for the Verde rating system. The Verde is the nationally recognized voluntary green building rating system in the Philippines. It was established by the Philippine Green Building Council and a member of the World Green Building Council. In 2014, we started utilizing the public version of the rating program to design and construct the most recent buildings that we have. And then in 2018, we achieved the Verde 5 stars for operations for our older buildings of from 1 NEO to 5 NEO. Finally, in 2020, we have completed our Verde 5-star for the 7 buildings and also publicized our commitment and ambition to decarbonize our portfolio in the same year, when we signed with the World Green Building Council's Net Zero Carbon Buildings Commitment. Likewise, on that same year, we also did sign up for the Urban Land Institute Net Zero Carbon Goal by 2050. In 2021, we became one of the 44 global signatories to upgrade our World Green Building Council Net Zero Carbon Building commitments. And this time, we are building full life carbon in our targets. Next slide, please. True to our commitment, we later joined the 2,800 organizations worldwide in publicly supporting the TCFD. As we all know, it is TCFD is a reporting framework for climate-related financial disclosures. We joined this to encourage and enforce climate action across any industries. With all these public commitments, we had to again gauge and validate how far we were from achieving net zero. So we did decide to volunteer and pilot 3 of our buildings from PLGBC's Advancing Net Zero program. The criteria for this program are aligned with the World Green Building Council's Advanced Net Zero. Eventually, all 7 buildings achieved 5-star, the highest possible rating in the Advancing Net Zero program. In the same year, we also applied for the internationally recognized EDGE, which is we believe, an excellent rating tool for decarbonization. Luckily, with all the efforts from 2013, we were able to achieve the EDGE Zero Carbon, a milestone for us in NEO because we became the first office portfolio in the world to achieve the EDGE Zero Carbon certification. Next slide, please, Cecilia. Well, we've discussed some of our efforts with our timeline for NEO's road to net zero. We also would like to share some of the building features. For our old buildings, exterior, we balance the benefits of having a window and the heat gain impact on the cooling system to achieve a low window-to-wall ratio. For our latest buildings, we designed it and focused on the power orientation so that we can be able to save on power. to act as a sunshade and reduce the heat from entering the building, thereby saving energy consumption. Next slide, please. To update our building's technology, we used Edge Up and we determined that investing occupancy sensors in our common facilities and installing smart meters in our electrical system will further improve our energy efficiencies. So focusing on that, we started early this year in investing on occupancy sensors for our buildings. And we're targeting to complete the installation for all of our buildings by 2024. As for the smart metering, we are targeting its implementation by 2023 to manage the investment. Next slide, please. We've successfully reached our net zero earlier than 2030 target with all the efforts that we've done from 2013. But we will not stop, and we plan to continue to implement additional strategies contributing toward the decarbonized built environment. Next slide, please. With our commitment to continue decarbonizing the built environment and being sustainable, the pandemic didn't stop the team. Since we also focus on health and wellness, it helped us adjust on the protocols about the pandemic. NEO achieved the Well Health and Safety Seal and became the first office portfolio in Southeast Asia to get verified. Considering that our locator properties of choice are offices with sustainable design and those that can offer green programs for the environment, and health and well-being for its employees, we were able to maintain less than 5% of vacancy despite the pandemic. Based on the fourth quarter real estate data for the Philippines last year, there are about 18.9% of vacant offices spaces in Metro Manila. In the business district alone, where NEO is located, there is about 10.5% vacancy rate of office spaces. This goes to show that sustainable buildings is faring in the competitive real estate market. Despite the premium rental rates, tenants increasingly choose to invest and occupy in green buildings because investors are aware that in the long run, they can benefit from green building features like higher efficiency that will reduce their operational cost and improve indoor environment for their employees. Finally, it will definitely help in their organization's ESG program. Last slide, please. So for all the listeners, look ahead to your future business and protect your investment. There are a lot of financial platforms that support sustainable green developments, retrofits, and innovations. So it is time to transform and take action. Include ESG in your goal and commit. If we at NEO in the Philippines can achieve this goal ahead of our commitments with less resources, less investment platforms for green sustainable developments, and no government incentives for deep decarbonizations, I'm confident that companies situated in countries with all of these advantages can achieve this too. So why wait? Let's help decarbonize our built environment and save the planet. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Gia, for those inspirational words and also for those amazing indicators that do prove that green buildings are more competitive than those that are not. Thank you very much, Gia, for your time and for that presentation. All right, continuing with the agenda, we have seen the great example of NEO from commercial buildings in the Philippines, and now we're going to Mexico for the green social housing, a win-win for all, the Mexican case with Vinte. It is a pleasure for me to introduce Mr. Domingo Valdez. Domingo Valdez is the CFO and board member of Vinte. Thank you very much, Domingo, for your time.
Thank you, Cecilia. If we can go to the next one, please. So just a few bullets about Vinte. We're a publicly traded Mexican land developer and home builder with a sustainability and innovation project focus since we started the company 19 years ago. So introducing Edge was easier in that we started the company with this sustainable focus for building the homes. And therefore, we were the first ever certified Edge home in the world. And we're currently the developer that has certified the largest amount of such homes worldwide. And the commitment we have is to keep increasing that number, hopefully to keep being the largest in the world. We're very proud of that. We have issued 10 bonds in the market for the last 12 years. Of those, the last 4 have all been certified green and social bonds, and even including the last one that is an SDG impact standard aligned bond. And this wouldn't have been possible without all the certifications we have with EDGE. So one of the advantages we see on EDGE is being able to issue these green and social, well, at least the green part of the green and social and SDG impact bonds. We have developed more than 50,000 homes in these first 19 years of operations of the company. And we currently own and are working on building another 40,000 homes in the land reserves we own. Honestly, 100% of the homes we have built and we're building comply with EDGE certification. We haven't certified them all, but at the end, we build them aligned with EDGE certification requirements. Some of them at around 10% EDGE advanced. And as land developers, we have built and donated 28 schools, 9 water treatment plants, 323 rain collection systems, and 92 kilometers of roads. I think this is very important. That might not be directly considered with EDGE in the home itself, but as the environment for the families living in an EDGE home, it's very important to have the complete cycle of what is happening in the whole development. We build developments that could be of 250 homes or 6,000 homes in one development. So it's important to build them according to SDG standards. We're rated top 12% and top 16% worldwide in terms of ESG by Clarity and Sustainalytics, also very important for our equity investors. And again, this wouldn't be possible without all the certifications we have done with EDGE. So a lot of advantages there. In the COP26 with IFC, we committed to building another 13,500 homes to reach almost 20,000 homes to be built. So far in this year, we already certified more than 3,000 homes as EDGE. Again, 10% EDGE advanced. So that's in a faster speed that we planned originally. So most likely we'll reach more than 20,000. And this implies 5,000, 9,000 tons of CO2, 1.3 gigajoules of energy produced, 500,000 square meters of water. As you know, in Mexico and in many countries, water is a huge issue. More this year than ever, and saving all this water has really a huge impact for the environment. In terms of energy savings, 33% of the energy saved by the families living in these homes that we built. And just to finish, what's going to happen by 2030, this is going to be multiplied accordingly in terms of CO2, in terms of water savings, and energy savings, of course. Thank you, Cecilia. So what's the implication? What are the benefits here for the company, for the shareholders, for the stockholders? We saw these benefits are direct to the environment and for the families, and governments, even both local and federal governments, are very well surprised by the impact on having all these EDGE homes, even financial institutions that provide the mortgages. And for the company, the benefit means stability, means such a complicated worldwide year as 2020, we were able to have an even year and to keep growing in 2021. And this is due to the business model that it's a sustainable and innovative business model. So it pays off to think in a positive way for everyone in a share value business model. Also, and Michelle was mentioning the benefits of certifying with EDGE. We have had interest rate reductions with IFC, with IDB, with KfW DEG if we reach certain amount of homes certified by EDGE. So that's another example of the benefits of certifying with EDGE. And let me tell you another one that is very important. There has been several credit crunch for home builders in Mexico since Lehman, since we have a change of administration of subsidies 8 years ago, last year or 2 years ago with the pandemic. And we have always been able to have access to financing, both equity and on the debt part, thanks to these impact investors. We wouldn't be here today without these very important impact investors that had made possible for the company to keep growing, to keep being profitable, to keep paying its debt, and to keep growing all together with this EDGE construction that we're very proud of. So it really pays off to think in this positive way and to validate it through mechanisms such as EDGE. And this is the last slide. The last benefit we see on having this business model is not only that we have been growing successfully and in a profitable manner, but having this differentiated business model allows today to open a new business model that could probably duplicate the size of the company, because we have started to integrate a digital platform where we are also going to be buying and selling the homes that we built years before. So the value that have gained those homes, given the business model, can only be achieved having such a business model and validation by EDGE Homes, that we have successfully been buying and selling again our own homes and gaining through this new platform. So it has a lot of benefits that we have definitely found, and with innovation we'll keep finding in the future. I think, yes, that was it, the last one. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Domingo, for those indicators. And again, congratulations for the amazing success that Vinte has been achieving and will continue achieving. Thank you very much. Great, perfect. And continuing with our agenda, now we're going to Kenya, to the continent of Africa, for a presentation for efficient warehouses in Africa, a competitive product offer by Africa Logistics Properties. It is a pleasure to introduce Mr. Marusa Chikawana, Development Director of ALP. Thank you very much, Marusa, for joining us.
Thank you very much. I think good morning, good evening. I think in Mexico, buenos dias, magan danga bi, magadi mwiriwe. My name is Marusa Chikwana, and Zimbabwean born, spent a lot of time in Australia, about 13 years working there, and have been on the continent for the last 11 years. Working in various emerging markets. So currently I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, but we work in Rwanda, we do work in Tanzania, we do work in Uganda. So I'd just like to say thank you for allowing us to share our story and our journey. Next slide. Basically, the story I want to share is twofold. It's about people, fundamentally, and then it's about our 6-step process to getting to net zero. So on the screen right now is our founder, Toby Salmon. And our story began in 2014 when Toby left, I think, Raven, Russia, a warehousing property investment company that he helped build. And he was skiing and he thought to himself, why not Africa? You know, as only a crazy old Englishman would do. But I never told him this. But he was laughed out a lot of boardrooms, and everyone is very skeptical about this vision of his. But 2 years later, he actually managed to secure $60 million to implement his vision. Next screen. Who we are is probably easier to explain by who we're not. So we're not a fund, we're a permanent capital company with long-term shareholders. And you can see our shareholders at the bottom of the screen. So you've got British pension funds, you've got the IFC, you've got European private equity groups. And we're really blessed to have this really, unique bunch of shareholders who our term have patient capital, because them having that mindset has allowed us to be able to pursue some of the sustainable and green agenda that we wanted to pursue. So the team is pretty small. There's about 13 of us in total, 8 guys, 5 ladies, 4 nationalities. I'm on the extreme left there from Zimbabwe and Australia. We've got our CEO, Richard Howe, he's British. We've got our CCO, Dean, he's from South Africa. So we're a mixed bunch and we're all based in Nairobi. So next slide, please. We're all based in Nairobi, and essentially what we do, like our raison d'etre, I think is how you pronounce it, is it's all about warehousing. So we invest and develop grade A assets in those countries that you see on the screen along the eastern seaboard of Africa. We don't do any work in South Africa. We don't do any work currently in West Africa or North Africa. We pretty much just picking our lane and wanting to be the best at what we do in the market that we can actually service. Next slide, please. Our typical tenants, multinational companies, regional companies, medium-sized local companies. When we set up the business 5 years ago, we thought that grade A warehousing would be needed by multinational companies. And 5 years later, looking back, it's turned out to be quite the opposite. The majority of our tenants are actually local businesses that perhaps have got venture capital money and they're investing and they're growing. So they've got international investors who value sustainability and having a low carbon footprint, if I can say that. Next slide, please. Just a snapshot of the team. So basically I'm talking consultants, architects, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, quantity surveyors. We're predominantly based in Kenya, but there are services that we may not find in Kenya that we reach out, maybe to South Africa, maybe to Sri Lanka, wherever those services may be. But wherever we can, we try to procure everything in terms of services and also building materials in country, and only import those things that we can't get. Next slide, please. In terms of our experience, we cover all sectors from the industrial space. So we do cold storage, we do grains, we do big box retail, dry storage. Basically, if it's storage and you want the best in class, we can deliver it. And combined, we've got over 1.8 million square meters of experience in emerging markets. Next slide, please, sorry. So I'm going to take us back to Toby Salmon, our founder. So he comes to Kenya, and this is the existing stock that he sees. And he chose Kenya after having a look at quite a few countries, and Kenya had strong growth. There was a lot of investment coming in, and growing importance as a trading hub. Having Mombasa port by the Indian Ocean and being able to be a gateway into Eastern and Central Africa. So this is a typical type of warehousing that was in the market at the time. It's what they refer to as go-downs. I'm not quite sure where this term originated from, but I think it might be from East Asia. But they're typically 460 square meters, about 4 meters under the eaves. They're old and they're in plenty of supply. Probably you can rent this for about $3 a square meter, US dollars, on the market as we speak. Next slide, please. So, proof of concept. We've raised $60 million. We've got this big vision. We start to put together our team, and then we look for 2 sites within Nairobi. So if you can see on the screen how Nairobi is split up. So bottom right is going to Mombasa. The A104 to the left is going towards Tanzania. To the right, where it's going towards up north, you can make your way up to Somalia and Ethiopia. And to the left, that's the A104, that's a 6-lane highway currently being constructed. That takes you up to Uganda. So you can see how all these routes sort of converge in Nairobi. So we picked 2 specific sites, one to the north, one to the west. The one to the north, if you can go to our next slide, is 29, it's a 22-acre parcel of land, which we constructed just under 50,000 square meters of grade A warehousing space under roof. So we started in 2017, and by 2018, we had finished the first 2 buildings to the bottom right there. One of the things we're most proud of is that this then became the first industrial development on the continent to be certified EDGE. And not only certified EDGE, which is 20%, but we actually surpassed that and got above 40% in 2018. So it was the first industrial development on the continent to be certified. If we can go to the next slide. This is just typically what was happening in 2019. The last building that we're putting up, it's about 20,000 square meters of space under roof. Now, these roofs are 12 meters under eaves. So raised floors, FM2 specification. Basically, if you were to walk into a facility in Latin America, North America, Europe, we're trying to replicate that so that you can seamlessly move into your facility and operate as if you're anywhere else in a developed economy. Next slide, please. Now, out north, all complete, fully let, 50,000 square meters. And now we've moved on to out west. So this is just off the road taking you to Uganda, where we've got 49 acres, which we'll be developing in phases all the way through to 2025. Now, what we love about this site is that we've now built 10 structures, 10 buildings in the last 5 years. And we've been achieving on average about 40%, so advanced. So now we're like, hey guys, how about we go net zero? And so this is the vision. Next slide, please. This is a vision for this development site, which is to the west of Nairobi, about 25 kilometers away. Next slide, please. So basically, this is our strategy in terms of getting to net zero. There's 6 steps. I'll walk you through the 6 of them, and then pretty much that's the presentation done. So the first step was basically we need to commit to being part of the solution in reducing our environmental footprint. Because the building industry is emitting close to 40% of global emissions, we can't hide from that. We keep on building these buildings, and they'll be there long after we're gone. So we need to be part of the solution. Then we need to actually disclose what's our footprint. And so we've gone through that process. Next step, looking at the embodied carbon emissions in the materials that we're using, which make up about 11% of annual emissions. How do we reduce that? That's the hard part. And this is where I really want to engage and get a little bit of help, because we're just a developer. We're putting up the structures, but we don't manufacture the materials. So we don't create the steel or the concrete, for instance. Next step, reducing our operational emissions. That one is a lot simpler to do, because we're using technology and we're using passive design philosophies. We're able to influence that a lot more. Step 5, renewable energy. If we're going to go net zero, I need to pretty much be able to be off grid. And so that's what we're trying to do. And then whatever's left over, I guess I have to offset. Next slide. So this is our commitment through the World Green Building Council, which we made this year. And basically what we're saying is by 2030, all we're going to be doing is zero carbon developments. So it's a very ambitious target. It was exciting to be the first on the continent to do it, but it was also a little bit sad because it's like, this is one of those things that we all need to do together. And we're on our own at the moment. So there it is. Next slide. Sorry, Cecilia. This is just a snapshot of our carbon emissions. Next slide. This is just an attempt to explain that steel, which comprises 50% of our building materials, is one of the biggest emitters, about 7% of global emissions. And this is where we're trying to advocate to see how is it possible to move away from blast furnaces and fossil fuels and go towards maybe electric furnaces. Cecilia? Thank you. And this, next slide, please. No, next slide. Thank you. Yes, so once we've actually tried to reduce all those carbon emissions through our design, to be able to get to net zero, you need to track your data for close to a year. And so what we're setting up is smart meters in all our buildings and all our tenancies so that we can capture that data and then share it with the Edge platform as and when is needed. And it's also beneficial to our tenants. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, so this is a snapshot of the 10 buildings that we've done in the last 5 years. And you can see the energy savings performance, the water savings, and the energy and materials. So this is just trying to demonstrate basically how we are performing. We've got 2 buildings there that didn't perform at 20, that performed at about 29%. And we're currently investigating why that is the case. But that's a snapshot. Next slide, please, Cecilia. This is now in terms of the benefits that our tenants are tangibly getting. So as far as utilities, 48% energy savings, 44% water, and we managed to achieve 62% less embodied energy in the materials. How does this translate in terms of your wallet as a tenant? On average in Kenya, at about 14 cents a kilowatt hour, your average bill is about $7,300 a month. With the measures that we've implemented, we've managed to save the guys close to $5,100 US a month. So guys are actually seeing the benefit loud and clear. Next page, please. And wrapping up, and this is the last slide. Basically, this is just summing up our journey, starting from 2017, when we built our first building, 2018, the first industrial development on the continent to get certified, also won the best logistics industrial development in Africa, which was a really, really nice sort of pat on the back from our peers. In 2019, we commissioned our first solar plant on our roofs. 2020 was challenging. We failed twice in getting Edge, and we learned a lot of lessons, but we finally got it certified and advanced. 2021, COP26, we pledged to go net zero. And this year, same thing with the World Green Building Council. Thank you very much, Cecilia.
Thank you very much, Maruza, and congratulations, and thank you very much to ALP for that amazing and wonderful leadership of green buildings in Kenya and in Africa. Thank you very much. All right, I'm so sorry we're a little bit over the time, but this is the last section of our presentation. It is a pleasure welcoming my colleague, Rosemary Music, Operations Officer of IFC, who will deliver the presentation on going forward IFC's offer for investing in green buildings. Thank you very much, Rosemary.
Thank you, Cecilia, and I hope you'll stay with us because I think now comes the interesting part is how can you access these funds and how you can work with IFC on both the technical offer as well as the financing offer. IFC really is combining our pieces, and we saw a lot of the way that we've helped our clients around the world on the technical side, but we do have a financing offer. We're working with entities in emerging markets through 3 different paths. One is direct finance. The second is through local financial institutions. And the third is through PPP structures, public-private partnerships, and finance for municipalities. Next slide, Cecilia. Our direct financing program is called GRIP. That stands for Green Pathways for Real Estate Institutional Portfolios. And it works for both new building construction as well as for decarbonizing existing buildings. We help companies with their decarbonization strategy through technical assistance, but at the same time, we structure the investment. And this may be through green bonds, green loans, sustainability-linked products, or any other relevant financial products. You can see that we have what we call a 4P process: pledge, plan, proceed, and publish. And the idea is that IFC will help you create a plan for your decarbonization ambition, again, for both new and existing buildings, with clear interim targets, as well as a financing plan. And then we will help structure the finance for you to be able to implement. Next slide. The first project we signed is with Marmara Group. This is a Turkish hospitality group, and the idea behind them is they were green their entire portfolio financed by IFC. GRIP is suitable for most types of real estate. This includes offices, shopping centers, warehouses, and even schools and hospitals. It's just by chance that we worked first with a hotel, because our second program, it says you can go to the next slide, is more focused on the hospitality industry. This is called the Hotel Green Revitalization Program. And this program, instead of direct investment, works through local financial institutions. IFC has been collaborating with the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance for quite some time now. We published a joint paper called The Business Case for Sustainable Hotels. The Alliance is comprised of the largest hotel chains, Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, Intercontinental, and all others. And we're now working with them to implement their sustainability strategy all through their supply chain. What happens here is that IFC provides finance to local banks, and this may be some sort of risk sharing facilities, credit lines, green bonds, which they then on-lend to their local hotel clients. Again, we provide the technical assistance along with the financial product to both the banks and the hotel clients in a similar way as GRIP. The reason that IFC works through local banks instead of direct investment is that hotel owners typically manage only one property. So this increases our reach, and we're able to have a wider reach in the market. Next slide. The final program we have, although we can possibly structure something unique for you, is for municipalities, and we call it CLIME, Climate Proofing Municipal Buildings. In this program, IFC is providing comprehensive help to a city, and this consists of multiple components. First is the regulatory environment, including fiscal and non-fiscal incentives needed to catalyze the market. Second, project structuring, including a similar decarbonization roadmap as we just heard, but also PPP structuring and tendering and any project development support. Our capacity building includes technical training on our tools, monitoring, and any green finance training. Last, but obviously not least, facilitating finance includes developing commercial finance to municipality, local developers, or energy services companies, or again, go through local banks depending on the local needs. So our message is, whether you're a developer, a building owner, a municipal entity, or a bank working in this sector, we invite you to work with us. We have technical solutions, financing products, case studies, free, easy to use tools. Truly, IFC has a one-stop shop offer to work with you. With that, I'll turn it back to Cecilia to help close the session.
Very much, Rosemary. Thank you very much to all our wonderful panelists. Thank you very much to GA, Marusa, Domingo, my colleagues, Michelle and Rosemary. If you have attended this session, this workshop, you are interested in decarbonizing your portfolio. It has been proven, you have seen the results, the indicators. You can do so with EDGE and become also a leader of green buildings in your own country and in the planet. So thank you very much for joining us, and until the next time. Thank you very much to the organizers as well. Have a great afternoon.